right, Daddy. I got you.
This is Tall Can Audio.
TCA episode 1110 of the Tall Can Audio podcast. Matt Robinson, Rob Christie. What are you saying today, man?
11:10.
Yeah.
I'm sad that I'm not here for 11:11.
It's actually been planned that way. Oh, and you know what's funny? I fucked it up because I do that a lot, and it's not that funny. But you and I are sitting here Sunday afternoon. This will be released Monday morning. Matty Lang will be here post Leaf game. That one drops immediately. That will be episode 1110. And this will end up as 1111. So you are here for 1111.
I'm feeling the good feng shui or whatever this is.
Sure.
I'm feeling that.
Matt's, what are we, 17 seconds into the show? Matt's already flubbed it.
I'm feeling downward pressure. Or is it upward pressure?
Yeah.
Downward pressure.
Either way, relieve it somewhere else, I think. We're on social media at Tall Can Audio. Make sure you give us a follow there. Subscribe to the pod wherever you're hearing us right now. It's been a busy weekend for you, man. You're rolling in here feeling pretty good, I would think. Ready for a pint or two. How's it going?
Always ready for a pint or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I deserve a pint or two, Matt.
Yeah.
I give till it hurts. You know that, eh?
I was at an event this morning. You were at that event too. And someone said, hey, you should come in. They're about to honor Rob. I was like, I've heard Rob honor himself enough times. Like it's
Rob does it himself.
Rob has no honor, and Rob, I've heard it. Right? Rob's good. Rob's
but it's always better when somebody else says it, though, right? When somebody else is extolling your virtues.
Yeah.
It's always better than when you have to do it yourself.
You've so successfully misled people.
Yeah. Well, if you take the two of them somewhere in between, you get the real picture.
Right. I agree with that. What'd you just crack into there?
This is, and I haven't taken a pull on it yet, but this is a Belgian wit from Salter Street out of Toronto, I believe.
Yeah.
Comes in about 5%. The Belgian wits, I'm not really. It's not a strong.
It's not a go-to.
It's yeast forward. You're right. It's usually. Yeah, I know.
You hate that.
Ends up with that. Ends up with that white film on your.
All right. Oh no.
But yeah, I guess the calling card of the wheat beers period is that yeast forward, but also low bitterness, right? So.
Yeah,
that does not jive with what we do here on this show. I know that is a long-standing thing. So I'm going to give it a pull, but it comes in about 5%. So I'm expecting something maybe, a little peppery, maybe.
Yeah,
this is what I'm really expecting. But
I feel like I've tried that one before. I could be wrong, but it's ringing a bell. And the thing that would stand out is peppery, as it often is, right? With a belt. Oh, okay. That's not an.
That is not a ringing endorsement. No. To me, it has a bit of that.
That sound you make when you find out Wes McCauley's reffing your Leaf game tonight.
5 minutes for fighting.
Fighting.
Yeah, it's it has that sort of it's. Yeah, I'm not loving it off the first pull. But we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
I'm not getting it. What yeasty is what I'm getting.
Okay.
Which
Kanye, a little easy.
I've decided I don't love. Kind of what you get from a saison or any of those.
That's exactly what I would have expected. As you said off the top, I'm expecting kind of peppery, kind of coriander-y or something. Yeah, well,
and it's exactly.
Yeah.
It does have a bit of that. And again. It has a bit almost soapy kind of. Yeah, no. And again, I always go, anything I don't like or I don't love, sort of you go, wow, what is it that's making me not love it?
Yeah.
And so that's sort of where it is. But it is, to me, the carbonation is low. There's not a lot of bitterness. But, I don't know. On first pull, not loving it. I don't know what I had in the green room, but it was highly carbonated. And so this will be one of those episodes where I'm editing a lot as you turn and
off mic, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Blowing away
we'll
burps
see.
and-
We'll see. What do you have over there, Matt?
Nothing that's going to make you any more excited. As we sit here on a Sunday afternoon, and I've already pulled back the curtain. This is the Monday morning show. It will drop Monday morning. Between now and then, there will be a Leaf game and a post-game Leaf pod. This is just a Molson Canadian, as we need something to happen, and this worked in the last round.
I thought you'd flipped over to the needle light.
No, I do enjoy the needle light, as we talked about. Yeah,
I know.
But the Canadian worked in overtime in the last round, and we need some luck here. So that's all it is. And I know this has never happened to you in the sense that it's made you turn and go, what I really should drink is a Molson Canadian. But there has to have been at least one or two times where you've opened the fridge and gone, I don't know. Like, there's just not much here exciting me, right? There's a lot of beer, but either I don't want to be bothered piling through, figuring out
I want to drink a no doubter.
Right. And you're just sort of that might be fine. That one, it'll be good on a different type of day. I'm not feeling that. You're just kind of working through it, and you're just like, fuck. You just go to the old reliable, right? So
it's kind of like going to a restaurant where you go, I don't know, I'm feeling like something different, and then I'm afraid I'm going to try that different thing.
I'm going to spend money on something I don't like,
and I don't like it,
yeah.
But I do know I like that, or I'm at least okay with that.
Yep.
And I'm feeling
I've had it 100 times, but I'm going to have it again tonight.
I feel a little gun shy, and I don't want
That's
to.
it, man.
So I'm going to go to the old standby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a new wing place in Bob Cajun that I've been anxious to try, and they apparently have 150 different flavors. And I guess the first time the family tried it without me, can you believe that? They went and my brother-in-law, who's been mentioned a time or two on this podcast for all kinds of less than complimentary reasons, just got his usual medium, and you're sort of like, I guess I get it, right? We're having wings tonight. I want to know I'm going to like my wings. Like, I've been excited for wings for all day or whatever it might be. But this place is, their selling point is 150 different flavors. Yeah, just give me the mild or the medium or whatever your deal is, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Could I have the plain potato chip?
Yeah.
Could we do that?
I'm probably the last guy who gets to criticize him for this.
Yeah. Well, okay, but we used to go to the Wild Wing over here, and you would order a salt and pepper.
Yep. A little sour cream and onion sometimes.
Yeah, so to me,
a little honey garlic. Lately I've been getting into the Korean barbecue.
Oh, now you're talking, Matt.
It's
now
a little
you're talking.
sweet, but also
has a little heat.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not bad.
The
right?
Korean barbecue is excellent.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's what we're doing today. Molson Canadian on the podcast.
Okay, better on the second pull.
Yeah.
Still a little sweat sock, but not as bad.
So I know you've been busy the last few days. So the topics we've chosen here today are from a little zoomed out, right? Bigger picture. But one of the ones I forgot to mention, or I'll pull the curtain back here for the good listener. Oftentimes, because I know you're coming at 1:30, 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, and we'll record by 3 o'clock. So if I think of something while I'm out and about or whatever that I think we should talk about on the show, often I will say to my phone, hey, such and such, set a reminder for 10 a.m. on Sunday, and it's just whatever that thing that's got my mind with. And it gives me time to go look up whatever I might want to talk about. And for whatever reason, I guess this week I said 2 p.m. on Sunday. And so it just kind of ran in as you and I were heading back over here to do the show. The draft lottery for the NHL is Monday night. And the Senators, while they can't get number one, could still have a big, if you move into that top 2, top 3, top 4, there's some pieces out there. So like Adam Fantilli has actually been selected to go play at the World Championship.
100%.
There's the Swedish kid whose name is currently escaping me.
Yep.
Leo something, maybe. Leon something,
Let's
maybe.
go with Pedersen.
Sure. This is reasonable enough bet. It's not, but...
Yeah.
No,
I honestly know a bunch of the names.
Michkov. He's locked up long term in Russia. How far will he fall?
Years?
Yeah, that's a hell of a thing that they've gone ahead and done. And kudos.
Kaprizov though has shown that that's maybe not the worst thing ever.
No, it's true. And quite frankly, we've seen guys just walk out on KHL contracts in general in the past. But as a Sens fan, as the playoffs are rolling on, this is something I assume you've been keeping at least in your back pocket as coming up, find out where my team is going to draft, is that on your radar? What are you paying attention to right now with the draft lottery coming on Monday night?
Well, I know we like these moments where it appears Rob doesn't know what he's talking about.
Oh, there's enough of those.
Because no, that's what I say, and it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
I keep hearing about this Senators pick, and I'm fully of the understanding that this Senators pick doesn't belong to the Senators. That it's been traded to Phoenix for Jake Chychrun.
Right.
So I'm not sure if it's lottery protected.
It is lottery protected.
Okay. So that's
Did they trade a first for DeBrincat as well?
last year's.
Last year's at the draft. Okay.
Right. So
okay.
it was a first, second, and a third last year for DeBrincat.
Right, okay.
And this year was a first and 2 seconds, first and a second, anyways, for Chychrun.
I remember it being less than I thought it would be to get Chychrun. I remember thinking, we talked about it, is this the right player? That's debatable. Is the price they paid for this player a good price? Yes, it is. And
Yeah. So it's not on my radar.
because if it's a really good pick, you're not expecting that, right?
I'm not expecting it.
Yeah.
Like we've never done anything but move down in drafts when we did have the best odds, and we just sort of slid. So I'm not thinking about it, but you'd love to see Fantilli show up under the
Christmas tree.
Christmas tree. Like, to me, that's a guy who is as good as he is, sort of falls. He's not Bedard.
Yeah.
And you don't have the mystery of the Michkov, right? Which we saw
Russian
at the U18s, and
Yeah.
he was dynamite with his 10 goals, and you just go, I don't know. So Fantilli gets a lot of press, but he still falls. He's like the stepchild, right? You
Right.
just sort of.
And we should point out with the changes to the draft lottery rules, Ottawa can't move up to number 1. As high as they can get is number 2, right? So
Right.
Connor Bedard is obviously still the prize that we're all watching to find out for tomorrow. But, if Ottawa was to win the second one, they could move up to number 2 and
Yeah, no, and so it hasn't really. I was unaware that they were actually still playing hockey now. I've sort of moved on to other things.
Sure.
Not true.
No.
But the draft really hasn't been because, as I said, there's never been a thing. But yeah, Fantilli would be awesome. Now, it's not obviously out of the realm of possibility that the Senators would go with the Swede.
Yep.
All kinds of good luck there. I would rather they didn't take a roll of the dice on Michkov.
he, like, by all accounts, for people who haven't been following along, like, he might be on talent, the number 2 guy, right?
Well,
like,
there was talk at that U18s in Texas that, well, maybe he takes a run at the Bedard spot, right?
Yeah.
But because the Belarusians and the Russians have not been allowed into anything.
Yeah, they've been banned from international competition. He's got this long-term contract in Russia that he's not going to be able to get out of for a couple of years. Will his stock fall? Or, if you're rebuilding, would you go, yeah, that's fine. You can sit over there for a couple of years and do your thing. And it'll be interesting to find out. I know I asked you this before when it comes to Connor Bedard. The most likely landing spots are teams like Columbus, Anaheim,
Chicago.
I've said to
Not
you,
Montreal.
well, I've said to you, I if you're someone who believes in them rigging the draft, he will end up in the Eastern time zone, maybe the Central. Like, I could see them using him to rebuild Chicago
100%. That was my pick back in the show.
I'm the one who said Philadelphia. Like, they haven't had a star like that in a very long time, but they have actually won the lottery a couple times. Like, even if it's only gotten them up to 2, or like they got Nolan Patrick and it didn't work out.
Them,
so
they're happy about that.
I could see, and all of this is like, we have no idea how the balls are going to fall, but if you are someone who believes they would rig it, I think those are your 2 most likely spots. Like,
wow, and if he ended up
Arizona is the other team we haven't mentioned.
Right. If he ended up in Anaheim or Columbus, but I just look at Columbus with, like, they were just decimated by injuries this year, right? And if you were to add him into that group, it could be exciting, right? And again, with the youth they have with Zegras, Drysdale, McTavish. Like, I just look at what could be building in Anaheim as well.
That's right. Yeah, that's fair.
Interesting, right? Just what they have going on. I'm trying to think what the American kid's name is. Scored 30 goals.
Troy Terry.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think they got some potential out there.
Yeah. And Columbus, the same way. Like, there's some pieces that they signed Johnny Gaudreau thinking we're ready to make a push for the playoffs.
Oh, don't forget about Good Branson. Don't forget about that.
I'm trying very hard to forget about that. I'm sure they are.
They are.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Local guy. Shout out to the Gudbranson family.
Way to go, Goody. I think they would be disappointed if he ended up either in Anaheim just because of it's the secondary LA market and it's late night, and Columbus is what Columbus is in terms of what they're ever going to draw or what they're ever going to be. But they have some pieces in Columbus as well. So we'll see how that shakes loose. But I was curious, just as a Sens fan, whether that had been much on your radar.
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like
not at all.
Lot, yeah.
Not at all. But like I said, I had no recollection as to whether that was going to be lottery protected. So
yeah,
and I keep saying protected, like the R is somehow, gone AWOL. So
got a long weekend, man.
It's true. It's true.
We're
but
gonna allow that.
I would love to see that. That would be an incredible stroke of fortune. And there's nothing to say that you couldn't take Michkov and you flip that for something.
Yeah.
To
somebody just heading into a rebuild, needs a couple of years and has that in their back pocket when you're ready to come out.
And they're willing to flip you something
for right now.
Half decent, right? So to me, that may be of interest because he is the piece, right? Outside of
Bedard.
Yeah, that has that sort of dynamic talent, right? And so, because at that U18, he was even underage there. Like, he was a 16-year-old.
Yeah, he's got the bubble on and the whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
get your bubble on.
Let me ask you quickly. I don't want to spend a ton of time here because we covered it with Hoff earlier in the week. But Snoop this week emerges with one of the with the Nico Sparks group bidding on the Ottawa Senators. That's on top of Ryan Reynolds already being associated with is it Remington? I think
Remington. Yep.
And over the weekend, now the weekend is part of one of the groups. I guess that's like, oh shit, we need a celeb. Like,
everybody needs a celeb now.
Team Reynolds or Team Snoop?
100% Team Reynolds.
Oh no, okay.
Where did Hoff go down on this?
Hoff's actually closer to you, although we were enjoying the Snoop group as the way to address.
Well, and you know what the thing is, and I'm going to totally steal this from somebody else, is the idea that the Nico Sparks and the Snoop group seem really super interested in an NHL team.
Yes, this is exactly the point I made too.
And the Reynolds Remington group seem interested in the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's a huge deal.
It is. Ryan Reynolds wants to own the Ottawa Senators. Snoop wants to own an NHL team, and the Sens are for sale right now.
Right, and he's saying things like, everything's good in the Ottawa market. I want to use this to sell to people in Compton or Stockton, or you're like, yeah, good for you, buddy. And best of luck with that when Kansas City comes up with a need for a franchise. But you know what? We want people who are interested in
I think you're
this
right.
market.
I think once he got in here, though, he would become. But I'm hard Team Snoop. I won't have a vote, I don't think. But Snoop's cool as shit, man. Like, if Ryan Reynolds,
Shizzle, Mick Hizzle.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Rob is not cool as shit.
But I'm slightly cooler than Bob Cole.
Yeah. Thank you, Daddy.
Yes. Yes. Right back at you, Daddy.
Yeah, whatever it was. Snoop throwing to him in the 07 Cup final.
Yeah.
Snoop, Bob Cole is a legendary hockey broadcaster in Canada, so if you'd be so kind for us at Hockey Night in Canada to throw to Bob for the third period.
Well, shizzle dizzle with the big Snoopy Dingle double jizzle. I'm going to shoot it back to my main man, Bob Cole. Take it away, would you please?
All right, Daddy. I got you.
I just think I totally agree with you. I've said the same thing that Snoop wants a team and this is the team for sale right now. But if you're asking me to just pick a celeb, I'll take Snoop over Ryan Reynolds. And we had Mendez in here a couple of weeks ago, and that was his whole point as well, was how stodgy the Leafs and the Habs are, 100 years old, and they're monsters. And stop trying to compete with that. Just be over here at the cool kids table, right? Like,
So he's the cool kids table is blazing.
At the time was Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, okay, not blazing the big fat blunt with.
I traded a couple texts with Ian last week about him landing the Snoop interview in The Athletic, and actually there was a couple different people calling Mendez now the Scoop Dog, right? Like he's got
okay.
So, yeah.
But in The Athletic, it was sources close to.
Yeah. Well, later in the week, Mendez spoke to him, a one-on-one interview with Snoop.
Okay, I did not get that.
Yeah, circle back, man.
That.
It's worth
okay.
our buddy Ian Mendez shooting the shit with Snoop. So
you know what? Could you find two
honestly, man, two more different.
Oh, I was going to say two closer. More similar guys than Ian Mendez.
Sure, just blazing one up
and Snoop Dogg, exactly. Like, I want to be there.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
We all need to be a part of that for sure. So let's move along here a little bit. And I want to talk to you about, and I already know the answer to this, but let's talk a couple things that happened at two different concerts here over the last week or so. One is the Los Angeles Philharmonic performing Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony. Are you familiar, Rob, with Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony?
Nope.
Okay. Me neither.
I'm more of a Holst guy.
Yeah, sure.
Gustav Holst,
Yep.
which really John Williams stole all the Star Wars stuff from.
So apparently this is a thing that can happen, but there is a woman who experiences, based on the sound and the vibration, whatever, a full-on screaming orgasm
Yes, guy.
during the symphony. Let's take just
Wait. Is she performing?
no, she's in the crowd. She's a member of the audience.
How close are you?
How much do you love music, right? Let's take a listen to just the symphony. We'll just listen to the Los Angeles
Yes,
Philharmonic.
let's do it.
Your timing is stupendous. And apparently this went on for a little bit, but this is the audio that got captured and posted when someone thought to take their phone out and capture. Now, you and I, man, we love music. Not sure I've ever been quite that excited.
As I say, I want to know how close she is to a speaker.
Right, sitting right on it,
Right.
perhaps.
Like the edge of a washing machine as it hits a spin cycle. I don't know what's happening there. But that's gorgeous.
Yeah, having a great time. Enjoying your music, man. Enjoying the symphony.
I don't know what she paid for.
Well worth it, whatever she paid.
Whatever she paid for that ticket. No, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure that sounds like she's having a great time. And I know it doesn't.
You think that might have been coming from the bathroom?
Yeah, it was.
Could be anything.
Yeah, it could be. It could be just about
Some bad meat before you showed up. To
Louis taco truck. It is the LA. I have no idea what's happening.
Cinco de Mayo this week.
It is. See, there's all. That's a great.
So, something else happened at a different concert this week. Are you familiar with the band Sleep Token?
I am not.
So I wasn't either until this, but you and I, not particularly with our thumb on the pulse of...
In lockstep with today's youth?
Right. This is a rock band, a British rock band. The singer's wearing a mask. It's not like a Slipknot type deal. I don't really get it. But they're playing a show in Australia a week or so ago. And someone, as is often the case, has their phone up, right, recording the performance. And something happened there, and it's a little less obvious until the crowd lets you know what's happened. I'm going to play that clip right now. This is Sleep Token in Australia. Did you catch it?
No.
Oh, okay. Wait until the guy stops singing after his first line, and it kind of breaks down, right? There's a quick, quiet portion.
Okay.
And anyone listening in their car right now, this is what I was worried about. Maybe wouldn't catch it, but we're going to hit this once more. He shit himself, man. There's a sinister fart right at the end of the first line.
Well, it sounds like
just quiet. Yeah. But quickly you start to hear, right? And it happens in this perfect spot in the song where, it's quieted down as this emotional moment is playing out as the guy's singing. I'll hit it once more just so the people who now know what they're listening for. Like I said, it's right at the very end of the first line that he sings. Like you could miss it, except for the people who start to laugh. Like the very first laugh is, right? Like this, you were probably standing right beside him.
It sounds like an intimate venue.
So the thing that I love about the article on this, they were calling it the sinister fart at Sleep Token, is they reference it as it's quite common that people fart at concerts, but this one was poorly timed. You could make the argument it was excellently timed, right? Like if you wanted people to hear you, you wait till there's a quiet moment. But I was more put off by the idea that it's loud here, right? It's safe. I can just have at it at a concert and be... It's not uncommon for people to fart at concerts. Isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
That's... you know what?
I'll never be able to, not that I was ever going to get into it, but Sleep Token is probably forever ruined for me now. Right?
Yeah.
I'll think of the guy shitting himself.
Well, and I was at a sporting venue on the weekend where it got quiet for a second.
And Rob.
And now Rob,
No.
somebody else had that exact thing happen. And the guy next to me goes, Did you hear that? I'm like, of course I heard that. Everybody here heard that. Anyways, the two of us started to snicker. Honestly, like we're 9-year-olds. And then they had to stop and say, "Hey,
Grow up, Rob.
you two over there, shut up."
Yeah.
All right, it's him. That's
Also,
not me.
I only want to play this one more time just because, don't even listen for the fart, I don't care. But the snickers, you hear one guy laugh and then it starts to spread now that you know. Let me just hit that
Okay,
part.
but wait.
Yeah.
You think it's the guy who did it?
It depends, right? Do you think did he know this was the quiet part of the song and this is where I'm going to force, or was he caught off guard thinking I'm going to sneak this through?
Everybody. See, to me, it's one of those things where it is sort of, it's one of those things that's funny.
Yeah.
Unless it's right next to you and it's
Right.
not.
The very first reaction, though, is the ultimate, the most common reaction to a fart. The right as you turn away. It's funny, but it's right beside me. Right?
Okay, that's likely your buddy who's done that.
Exactly. I can't believe you just did that.
Right. Like you want to distance, you're like you might as well be pointing right at him. Like, that's not me.
Well, that's what you do if you're the farter. Is you point and laugh at your buddy going, this fucking guy.
Look at this guy.
Savage. And it starts to spread through the crowd. Not just the laughter, but no doubt whatever they're eating down in Australia.
All right, well, so since we've
That's
gone
big music news, man.
well, and again, I've heard it now 4 times.
Yeah, you still haven't heard the fart?
Yeah, no, I hear it.
Okay.
But it sounds like I don't get it, and it's
I think it might have been involuntary.
like that ass may have been wrapped in cellophane, and something bad has happened there. There's some splash perhaps with it.
So oh no. So which is your favorite? Was it that one or?
What?
I like her.
She's way,
having a good time.
She's way better. Like that, the head is back on that.
That's exactly it.
Like there is some like, you know what? I'm giving myself up to this.
Yeah.
Which
Tchaikovsky dead for 150 years, still bringing it for the ladies. Yeah,
bringing it. And so it's one of those things where, anyways, we can. I was going to get into a separate story that I was involved in.
Do it.
We were on a trip to Ireland. Going through, up to the Northern Ireland to see some family burial sites because the Christie side of the family comes from the Scottish Highlands.
Right.
But in some of the clearances, you end up in Northern Ireland, right? And so there's quite a few who, in the transit way between Scotland and Canada, have sort of laid down roots in Northern Ireland. So we spent 10 days, which is a nice segue because that would have been like
10 years ago.
Yeah. And so, you know what? 10 pints of Guinness a day. Easy. I was laying it down every day, right?
Yeah.
The bangers and mash and the meat pies, and it's tough, right? And so we're out at a traditional pub, and there's a dance floor, and Jeff and I were up sitting. We're not on the dance floor, but there's a dance floor between us and the band, and so this sort of thing happened. There's the sleep token thing. It's just
They orgasmed.
100%, and it was the best. Honestly, it was one of those ones you go, oh, I feel way better. Well, it doesn't.
No one else did.
It doesn't take too long that the people on the dance floor are like, whoosh, they're beating it. They're heading off the floor. The drummer in the band. We're the only two left.
And just howling.
Howling. I'm laughing so hard I'm sweating. And the drummer's trying to keep the show going. And he's looking at us, giving us the stink eye. Literally, the stink eye.
It's watering.
Yeah, my younger sister comes over and goes, that is unacceptable.
You immediately knows
like, yeah, that's not helping. If you thought the effect was going to be, oh, I'm feeling somewhat chastised. No, not at all. No. It was like, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Anyways, that
after
was,
sevess pints of Guinness.
Honestly,
and,
double digits.
Yeah.
Double digits.
And the bangers and mash. And then it was off to Mr. Sub for...
you had to hear all kinds of profanity and people shouting.
Late night.
Yeah, late night.
Sub orders.
Oh, late night in Belfast. This may have actually been in Dublin. Either way, great time. Go over, do it. Spend 2 weeks. Drink as much Guinness as you can possibly get your hands on.
So you pointed out that this is a tremendous segue, but it's not, because a better host would have pointed out that while we were talking about the Sens, we could have segued into this. But this past week was the 10-year anniversary of a motherfucker of a brawl between the Sens and Habs. It's during Game 5 of... Game 3.
Hey.
Of Montreal, Ottawa, on May 5th, 2013. And... this was, I had forgotten how much happened in this series, not just in this game. But the Sens go up, it's the Pajot game, right? The Pajot hat trick that leads to the taking over of the ole and turning it into Pajot. There is a brawl at center ice. You're seeing names like Ryan White, who I had totally forgot ever existed. On the Sens side of things, we're talking about Chris Phillips is on the ice. At this point, Zach Smith is feeding people.
Jared Cowan
is burying guys.
Chris Neal.
Yes.
And Cassian.
That's right. Oh, Cassian, wasn't he a Hab?
Nope.
No, he was a Sen.
He was a Sen.
Okay.
And the lineup, it was like with Travis Moen, like... they did not. Francis Bouillon.
Yeah.
Like they did not have the
Josh
Habs.
Georges.
They did not have the rigging to get involved in this. Ryan White was the only guy who seemed really interested.
Yeah.
And he just
there was a bunch of Habs getting fed.
All the Habs were getting fed.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was terrible.
The
Habs.
Yeah, for the Habs. This is the same series where Brendan Prust calls Paul McLean a fat bug-eyed walrus, which credit to him, like fair enough, right? But after I think it's the same game as the fight where Ottawa's up 6-1 and Paul McLean calls a timeout because they have a power play, and so he calls the power play over. And if you're going to keep sending out your fighters and taking penalties, then yeah, I'm going to keep running my number one fucking power play out here.
Pouring it to you.
Michel Therrien calls Paul McLean classless for doing it. And again, you now have to circle back and be like, didn't your guy call him fat bug-eyed walrus?
Well, and this is after McLean, after the Greiba on
That's right, big Eric
Lars Eller?
Greiba. That sounds right, yeah.
player 58 or
Player 60.
didn't even say his name.
No.
He's like, and so he got totally smoked. There's blood on the ice, and you're like, oof. That was quite a series.
Yeah. And so they've only played two, the Habs and Sens. They're
Twice.
It's 1-1.
It's 1-1.
But that one was one where the Sens laid a beating on the Habs, and it was over the last week or so on social media being pretty fondly remembered.
Well, and that was a game when it was so, it's recent enough that the Sens are 0-4 against the Leafs.
Yeah.
Right? You have this, but they'd never played in, at that point, 20 years of franchise history. You've never played the Habs in the playoffs. And you're sort of saying, all right, you know what? The two established franchises in this market,
We're taking one of them.
Montreal and Toronto, and you go, we've been totally bum-fucked by the one in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We're going to get in on the ground floor against these guys, and we're not taking that
No,
shit.
we're getting after it.
This is not happening here.
Yeah.
And so it was so therapeutic for the fan base to sort of, you put it to them on the scoreboard, and then they're the ones that first put out their lineup.
Yep, that's right.
And so McLean's like, all right, well then.
You want to go, me homie?
Yeah, exactly. Guess what? It's go time. And,
Yeah.
and Ryan White wanted to go Zach Smith, but he had slashed him. Smith went down, and Jared Cowan is standing there. And
It'll be you and me, sir.
And he is just giving him the Chara McCabe treatment, right? It's the spin cycle is on, and he's just getting fed. And White's trying to get away. Like he just gets, he gets spun out of the spin cycle, and he's skating in the opposite. It was...
I'd literally forgotten Ryan White ever existed until I rewatched this clip this past week. Like that name, it's like White. It's not Colin White. It's not Todd White. It's not... Oh.
It's nobody even as good as either
right.
one of those guys.
Right. It's Ryan White. I'd forgotten that guy existed. It's funny to me that Sens fans always reference the Chara on McCabe. There's a way more hilarious clip of Chara on Sundin where he like picks him up by the scruff of the neck and his skates are just kicking. Right? Like there's a couple different through those playoff series.
Well, yeah, and the thing is because McCabe's wasn't a fighter either, really.
Yeah.
But he's a big guy.
Yeah.
He was a big guy.
So was Matt's, right? He's a big guy.
Yeah. But McCabe, it was the and anybody who's had older siblings or whatever, and you're like, I'm just trying to get my feet, and I just can't. You're like,
they're holding you at arm's length
you're like,
or something.
I just can't quite get my balance, and I'm trying. And you're like, to see one human do that to another 6'3", 200 plus pound man, you're like.
It's funny though, like I said, that to me, it's Sens fans always bring up the McCabe one. To me, the Sundin one is the one that's more.
I barely remember it.
Okay, well there you go. But to me, and again, he wasn't going to box Chara either, but he's a big man himself and just kind of like picked up by like you'd pick up your hamster when it was running away from you at the back of the cage and you have to get him out.
Hey now, simmer down. Simmer down. Whatever you think you're going to do here isn't happening.
Yeah, how about I just put you over here?
And I think it was Bouillon was the one who got punched right into the penalty box. The door was open and he's just going backwards and he's taking it, and then
Bouillon was the guy who got just fucking smashed in that.
Well, because again, he's not
no.
But again, you're the guy. What are you doing out there? Like Chris Phillips. Yeah. Chris Phillips, that's a guy who's had a detached retina. You know, you're like, you don't want him fighting. But the rest of the Senators out there were guys who were more than capable.
Phillips was going. He was.
Yeah. No, he did.
Full line brawl.
Between Zach Smith, Cowan, Bogosian, Cassian, and Neal. Yeah, it was Chris Neal and Travis Moen, I think.
Yes, it was.
And you're like, oh goodness, and yeah, Moen is he's giving or he's trying.
Yeah, but like Moen's a checker. He's not a fighter, right? Like a great shutdown third line.
He's third place in that. He was third place in that fight. And you're like, oh wait, I get Oh, I got Chris Neal.
Yeah, fuck that.
It's not a good matchup. But that it was very. It along with the at the time the record-setting Senators Flyers,
Right.
which started out with Rob Ray and Donald Brashear. That is one
Rob
of those.
Ray and Ray Emery.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where you look back and you're like, Fisher on Hanzus, right? And you're just like, that is, and Hanzus gets dumped on his head, and you're like, that is a terrible, but it's so good to watch. Right?
Yeah.
You're just like, I don't smoke, but if I could just lean back and sound like
take
that
that in.
woman at the LA Philharmonic, it was
Sit back, watching a little Sens Flyers fight
Yeah.
action, and it's good watching, man.
That's, and you know what? I remember where I was when that happened. So both of those things, you're like, yes, guy. It's so.
This is one of those ones that stands out in Sens fans' minds as like a not just we didn't just beat the shit out of you in a fight. We also beat the shit out of you on the scoreboard, and within less than a week had punted you to the side. Like,
Get out!
in a small market, man, that shit matters, right?
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
And as I said to you, we'd had the very, now 9 years, but the very recent memory,
yeah, the Leafs won.
the Leafs.
Yeah.
The Leafs. And so you go like, man, I got my thumb on you. And you're like, yeah, this is an opportunity to start something fresh. And you go, and I ain't going for that. I ain't going for that. So this was, it was very enjoyable. Very enjoyable.
Whereas you got to assume for Habs fans, it came off as a wet fart at a Sleep Token concert. Yeah, so as we move out of the fisticuffs, perhaps
I do love the fisticuffs.
perhaps not a more simple transition as we sort of continue the thread here through the show. Yes,
Sorry, it's the same beer.
same
Just-
beer.
Same
Same over here too, man.
Same beer I didn't love the first time. I'm having another one.
Another John Molson over here. Yeah.
Didn't love it the first time, but
I didn't say that.
no, you didn't. I said that.
Yep. I wonder a little bit about how much we're talking right now about officiating, about the Department of Player Safety. The first one, of course, the officials headed up by Stephen Walkham, George Peros, the guy handing out suspensions.
Terrible. But it's always been a terrible.
It's always got more, like, I wonder, and the name is wrong, and other people have floated this before, but, like, perspective-wise, if you're going to have a George Peros, you also have a Paul Correa, who's like, hey, you kind of ruined my life by caving in my skull. Here's what I would do with this play, as opposed to the guy who's just caving in the skulls, right? Being the one who hands down the, if you're a newer hockey fan, George Peros made his career. I think he's a Harvard guy. Like,
Or Yale. He's one of the two.
like a
Yeah.
really good school who was just like, oh, I'm not good enough. And this comes off very condescending, but like, I'm not going to make it as a top end scorer. I can beat the fuck out of people and make a decent living that way. And he did it.
Well, John Scott.
John Scott, another one. Like these.
Marty McSorley. Is it McSorley?
Is it Bugard? One of them too was. He's the one who passed away, but I think he had like a reasonable education as well. I could be wrong on that, but the Department of Player Safety is run by a guy whose sole job was to beat the shit out of you. And so he's going to have a slightly different perspective on what type of suspensions, what type of discipline to hand down. And this isn't new. He's been around for a while.
Well, you've had Colin Campbell. You've had
Brendan Shanahan.
Chris King. Is it Chris King?
Chris King, I thought was a goalie guy, though, that he was following that. So I could be wrong.
I think King was one of the King. Derek King. Chris, I can't remember which one it was.
Okay.
One of the Kings.
Yeah.
Who also, to me, was involved in roughhousing.
Right. And on the referee side, it's Stephen Walkham, who's now the head of officiating for the NHL. And man, I don't know if we've ever talked more during the playoffs about, hey, that play is totally comparable to that play and got totally different results. I don't know if we've ever had this much talk through 2 rounds of the playoffs or a round and a half of the playoffs of, I don't trust the officials. And it's not even so much, I think a lot of people are in a similar spot to where I am, that they're not out to get any one particular team. They're just bad, right? The officials. And then when it comes time for a suspension, we have no idea what anything is worth at this point, right? And Rachel Dory put out a great YouTube video. We'll share the link to that. Just kind of comparing. Here's an elbow from this angle compared to the elbow from the same angle. This one got 4 games. This one got no games. This one got a $5,000 fine. This one got 3. And just like no one has any faith at this point in what's going to happen. I remember a tweet during Game 6 or 5 of the Toronto-Tampa series from Down Goes Brown, where he had screen capped his entire timeline on Twitter at that point. Like everything that would fit on his screen was Toronto's had the first 3 power plays. You know what's coming next. And he goes, that's not normal, right? Like that's not the way your league should be run. This team has had this many power plays. The next one is for sure going the other way. How about the next one is for sure whoever commits the next infraction, right?
Yeah.
These sorts of things. So I'm just curious, man. Like, is this an unavoidable thing given the nature of the sport that we're never going to be able to get away from? Or is it time to walk them, you're out, Paris, you're out? Like, these positions you don't normally hold them for long anyway. And can this be rebuilt? Can trust ever be, or are we always just going to go, the officials suck and there's no way around it?
Well, see, to me, the officials are awesome.
Okay.
They're just, it's too much. It's too hard. Now,
you are literally the only person I've seen say that in the last 5 years. The officials are great.
Yeah, they are. They are in terms of the on-ice caliber and the on-ice, what we have happen in this game that has never been faster, happens all the time. What needs to happen is we need to take one of the refs off the ice.
So you want less supervision?
No, eye in the sky. Right?
Oh, okay.
That person does, like you have coaches. You have an assistant coach, and sometimes you have guys like John Tortorella who are going to go upstairs. But I think you need to have somebody else. Like, we saw a game. So, yeah, I am going to give you mixed messages here, but these are the best.
I believe they are the best.
Okay, so moving away from that.
Like, I don't think there's a pack of better referees waiting to be unleashed.
Where are those guys at?
Yeah.
You had the game, and it was, I'm going to talk my way through it, and you're going to help me out with what it was. It was a Leaf game, I think.
Toronto, Tampa.
End of the game.
Pat Maroon on Giordano is the one I'm thinking of. The referee right there doesn't call it. The guy out in the neutral zone does.
No, I'm thinking about the high stick in the...
Oh, Game 6, right before overtime. Toronto high stick.
Game 1 or Game 2. Okay. Game 1 of the Panthers series.
Oh, okay.
The high stick in the scrum, and there was no penalty. And then everybody gets together, and they're talking, and they're like, well, I don't know. And they're like, we're challenging or whatever.
We set it to 5.
We're reviewing it. And they're like, how can you review a penalty you never called?
Right.
And then it ended up being a 4-minute major. Now, Toronto was down.
It was Ryan O'Reilly got high sticked in the face. Yes.
Exactly.
He's bleeding from his face.
Right.
But you missed it the first time, you sort of lose.
I don't know how you review something you haven't called.
Yeah. At the same time, everything else we're doing on the video replay is about get it right.
Yeah.
But you don't really have the leg to stand on here to get it right? Like, you're not allowed to go back and
I know, but I think the thing is, you get together and you go, all right, I just saw it on the fucking Jumbotron.
Yeah, well, that's it.
And you go, you know what?
The crowd's looking, I go, you fucking idiots.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
well, and I don't believe anybody saw it in the melee that was happening, right?
Right.
But clearly, guy's bleeding. And you go, well, is it his own stick? Did somebody else knock a stick up? You know, is it?
As I look out of the corner of my eye.
I know, but all you need to say is, yeah, linesman saw it. Linesman came in and said, yeah, totally, that guy did. Don't go, we're challenged. No. We're reviewing a penalty that is not a penalty.
Yeah.
So to me, there's just so much shit that happens. You need to have somebody removed and looking from up above. Because hey, anybody who's bought a seat in the 300s and watched the game go, what the fuck is that guy doing? What is that guy doing? But then when you see it at ice level, and you go, wow, shit's crazy fast and stuff's happening all over the place. And so
I used to be able to use my old man's tickets. Almost dead center ice, 10th row up in the 300s. It was essentially like watching on TV. Like, you were at that level, at that zoom, right? Like, whatever you would want to call it. And the game was so much more enjoyable to watch. But you could see, oh shit, like Kessel's just shot out of a cannon long before a play was even made to acknowledge it, right? To try and get it to him. Or that defenseman's dropped back out trying to, you have a great view of it. The referees, don't. Like, I'm sympathetic that there's only so many eyes on the ice, but I'm not going to pretend that there's not an agenda, right? Like, we know you and I have had the same conversation watching any game. If someone's had 3 power plays in a row, we're both going, better bury this one because you know who's getting that. That's not right. Well, that's not the way it should work.
Again, game 1 of Florida-Toronto, 2 early power plays to Toronto, and you go...
Didn't score on either one, and you're like, oh, they're getting the next one.
Yeah, or this is good. It bodes well for the other guy. And we have the Tim Peel where, unfortunately, the curtain gets pulled back.
He's out there. Yeah, he's the one who got caught on mic saying, I wanted to give, I think it was Nashville, a penalty.
I needed an even up.
Yeah.
I missed the call there or whatever happened, and he's on the mic saying it.
And he's not helping right now because he was getting ready to retire, and they encouraged that retirement to come, whatever it was, 6 or 8 games earlier.
Yep.
Because of being caught on. He's on Twitter every night now arguing with different fans and saying, well, you don't understand the way we call these games. And like, we do understand the way you call these games, right? Like,
and so just to be clear on what I was saying earlier was the on-ice officials are the best that there is, and they're doing a fine job.
Yeah.
It's how it's interpreted.
They are the best that are available. They are not doing a fine job.
I think they're doing the best job that you can do.
They are being told how to manage a game, and that needs to go.
Yeah, and I don't believe that's. I think you can do.
It is, man. They tell you, hey, we want to call more interference this time. Remember in the preseason, I was like, hey, make sure you guys sticks down. Or they tell you what we're focused
exactly,
on.
The face-off violations
and the face-off violations.
But that to me is not the same as, hey, man, do not let one team have more than 3 more power plays than the other one. Do you think that's happening?
Yes.
You think somebody is coming down and saying, hey, I don't
necessarily think
if that's the case, you don't have Paul Maurice doing his blood or crypt hand signals.
That was so weird to me, man, because the Panthers were one of the top 3 most penalized teams in the league, and the Leafs were one of the least penalized teams. You're like, hey, how come we're getting so many more?
Yeah,
because maybe your guys are just undisciplined douchebags, and it worked for you. You got here, you've been successful. Like we talked about it with Tampa, right? They won a game with a lot of special teams.
Right.
They trust their PK and their power play is fantastic. So they're going to push the envelope.
You could talk me into saying the human element is, I've given those guys 3. I guess I got to give that guy 1. I don't think it's
I do think that exists as well. I think that's in their heads that I don't want to be perceived as bias in one way or another.
Well,
but
cut the infractions.
The number of games that you watch that end in
6-4
in terms of power plays.
Yeah.
Comparable. No. That's not the way the world works all the time, right? Like at some nights, one team legitimately commits 7 infractions when the other team commits 1.
100%.
And if that happens, just fucking call it that way.
That's Ottawa. Ottawa they are drawing the most penalties and they are taking the most penalties. Like it's just like it's a free for all.
And the Leafs are almost the exact opposite, taking almost no penalties but drawing almost no penalties. And that's weird to me. When you got guys like Mitch and Willie and whatever rushing the puck and constantly being
when you are a puck possession team,
you should be the team that's drawing more penalties.
100%. I just don't believe that there's a mandate short of saying, "Hey, hooking, don't do that." Well, that's what we're going to crack down on.
Right.
And then it wanes, and then you go, "Hey,
now we're into
face-off violations or."
Slashing,
interference, and you go because
obstruction.
There's
obstruction.
You could call that on every fucking play. I chip the puck in, and then I go to get around you, and I get a little hip, and you're like, that's right there. That is the definition of interference.
Yeah.
I do not have the puck.
Yeah.
So I believe that there are agendas on plays to call, what we want to crack down on. As soon as your stick gets horizontal, and
so what about the Department of Player Safety, suspensions?
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's bullshit, and you've touched on it, and it's nothing new here. I've seen the Paul Correa. They had a great ESPN or TSN. The doc on it where, that's the kind of guy. That's the kind of guy who's a skilled player who needs to be involved in that.
And I'm not even saying Peros has to be gone, although I
do believe he has to.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. But you could bring in another enforcer if you also bring in a guy like Korea. I don't think Korea would do it. Korea's clearly done with this fucking league, right? Like
I think I got the impression. I certainly got the idea that he would be interested in something like that.
Okay. Well, it could be, but for every George Peros that is in that room, there should be a Paul Korea.
Well,
here's what's happening to me on that play. Instead of just I get why.
well, how hard would it be to have a panel?
That's what I'm saying.
I know, but not just two guys.
No.
You do
You
two
convene
two
on a
and
Zoom
two, right?
call,
Everybody looks at it.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, take a look at this, and we discuss.
Yeah. We got 3 Paul Koreas. We got 3 George Peros.
Correct.
And we're going to sit down and figure out what this looks like. Because while George Peros goes, my only option there is to elbow that guy's head through the glass. Paul Korea's like, I'd really prefer you didn't, though.
Well,
right?
if you want, for those of you who don't know George Paris, and Matt alluded to it earlier, go back and look at Colton Orr, George Peros.
That's a sickening fight. One punch, dropped him. Like face first.
First on the ice.
Yeah.
Season opener, maybe 2013, I want to say.
Yeah.
It's super sickening.
Yeah.
The only thing that saved him was the mustache.
Bounced his head off his mustache.
Off his mustache. But yeah, I think you need to have different people. Put Stu Grimson on that panel.
But not just Stu Grimson.
No, but I'm saying Stu Grimson is a guy. If you've listened to Stu Grimson speak,
he's struggling, right? Like,
but he's well educated.
Oh yeah,
he's an advocate for changes in all these sorts of things. He's a big mental health advocate. So that's a guy who would have both perspectives.
They talk about like Derek Bugard and the substance abuse
Rick
Rippin, right? These guys who fight, it is on their minds all the time, right? I have to go out and it's not funny, but Derek Bugard is one of the biggest, nastiest motherfuckers you've ever seen in your life, and he's the one worried about fighting other. I would be terrified of being the guy stepping across from Derek Bugard.
Yeah.
But when that's your job every day, and you go for your pregame nap, and you're like, I might have to fight whoever tonight.
Tony Twist.
Yeah, right. Like, and Domi has talked about that 100 times. He's like, I know what my reputation in Toronto was, but there were many nights where I was like, oh my God, right? In the pregame nap, I'm not ready for this tonight, right? Like
Well, you got to know that when he had that Probert fight, he's playing for the Rangers, and it's a draw or it's a soft, whatever it is, and Domi's skating off doing the belt, and he's like, I did not get murdered.
I'm just happy to be alive right now.
And I'm like, woo, I'm doing it, right? And then you go, the next time I see that guy, I got to do that again.
Yep.
I got to have my best night again.
Yep.
And it doesn't happen, right? Chris Neal on his jersey retirement here, he's saying, he was like, my pregame naps where I don't have them or I wake up and the sheets are sweating, I'm tied up, because I'm thinking about fighting Ty Domi that night.
Yeah.
Right.
It's hard on you, man.
Well, and Domi as a guy, or Bugard, or any of these guys.
Well, there's a lot of them that are gone, right? Like
I know,
Probert.
but you are thinking of, I am elite at what I do. And if I'm elite if I'm a Panarin, or I'm
anybody like that, Matt Chuck.
The name I was trying to think of was Pasta in Boston.
Oh, David Pasternak.
Yeah, Pasternak. Thank you. And it's just, if that's my game, and I go, all right, I didn't score tonight.
I haven't scored in 9 games.
Right.
I'm restless.
Well, but Bugard knows I am dominant. I can't be beat. Like I don't want to lose a fight, because that's the same.
Changes the whole.
That's the same as my guys look to me and go, yeah, that guy, he's the nuclear deterrent.
Yep.
And
fuck is he ever?
Yeah, and so, but when I don't win, and the other guy hits me with a nice one, good shot, then I go down. It's totally, that's where it changes the game. I win the fight, I'm expected to win.
It's funny, and again, it's the wrong word, man, but it's ironic, or it's whatever, when you see how many of these hockey players who have died early or gone through some shit are the enforcers. They're not. Oh, they're not. And then you look at somebody like a Chris McGrattan, who played here in Ottawa, and then started out in Calgary he was one of the very first people in the NHL to be talking about mental health and go, you have no idea how hard this is. And so I think the game has moved beyond those people, obviously, but that doesn't mean what these guys went through wasn't. There's no other word for it. It's terrifying. I believe I'm a good fighter, but that guy over there is a good fighter, and I have to fight him tonight. And you're saying with all that pressure, my guys are looking for me to take care of them right now.
There's 18,000 people
that are all
watching,
standing up for this while we punch each other in the face. It's a different. I don't really remember how we got here, but like you can't have just those guys on the panel, but those guys should be on the panel. I don't
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
But yeah, now give me like whatever. It's Paul Kariya is the name I keep coming back to. But the small like a Daniel Briere, right, or these small guys that are trying to make plays and. Their perspective is important as well.
I want to see Maxim Afinogenov. That's the guy
sure,
I want to see.
Why not?
Miro Satan.
Who doesn't want to see Max Afinogenov more in 2023?
Just the names that came. How about a Ziggy Palfy?
They're
Can
all
I get a
Sabres.
Ziggy Palfy?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, it is where I'm going.
One-time Sen.
You said Danny Briere,
yeah.
And I was like, all right, this is where I'm going, right?
Miro Satan.
Zemgus Girgensson.
Obviously, we should hear more from that guy.
The Latvian prince. Let's do it.
Before we get out of here, why don't we talk a little Blue Jays? As we sit here now, and we did this last week, Rob, and it didn't pan out all that well. And I don't know why I said your name again.
It actually sent them into a crazy tailspin
spiral
after we had that conversation.
At the time, they were up, I think, 8-4.
8-4, yeah.
On the Yankee Dankleys? No.
Nope.
Someone last Sunday. And they lost in 10-8, I think. 11-10, something like that.
10-8. It was 10-8.
And so as we sit here now on Sunday afternoon, the Jays are up 5-0 on the Pittsburgh Pirates in the top of the 8th inning. We're going to go ahead again and presume.
Like election night, we're going to declare a winner.
We're going to assume that this pans out okay. But they've already taken 2 of 3 in Pittsburgh. Looks like the sweep is in order. Whatever. You can hold that against us if it doesn't hold up. But that's coming off of a 4-game sweep in Boston by Boston. There was not a whole lot of fun to watch,
Strange that
man.
we get swept in Boston in 4 games by Boston.
Well, I didn't want anyone to be confused that we walked into Boston.
I know. All right, man. All right.
Ugly. Everything about that series in Boston was pretty bad. I know you've had your eye on other things over the course of the weekend, and honestly, I haven't seen a ton.
I love the Blue Jays, my friend.
I know.
Even when I've got other things going, I'm checking it out.
Keeping an eye on it.
That series, and I can't remember who it was. Was it the White Sox? I'm not sure who that was. That the Sunday night game coming out of that.
Yeah, I don't remember either, to be honest.
Was horrific. Because at that point, it was like 9 straight games of quality starts from the starters, and you're like, yeah, they're just rolling it. It almost became like the start, because I think we talked about the starters carrying this team.
Yes,
coming into that sort of the 9 quality starts and how things just could.
Hey, the bullpen looks tired, but it shouldn't, because the rotation carried more innings than any rotation in baseball through April.
Yeah,
right?
And you're like, that seems weird.
Yeah.
And then the starters couldn't get through 4.
Anything. Yeah.
5. And forget about quality, which is whatever that is, less than 4 runs or 6 innings.
Yep.
And so it was just a nightmare, right? And then you roll into Pittsburgh, and for those of you who haven't been paying attention, Pittsburgh
was 2016, I think, to start the series.
Yeah. 20 and yeah, they were first
in the Central NL
first in the NL East.
Central.
First in the NL something or rather.
Okay. Pretty confident here.
And it was funny because at one point they had the identical record to the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yes.
And
at 0-0.
Yeah, no, at 20 and whatever.
Yep.
And if you looked at the odds of making the playoffs and I can't remember what the website was, the Rays were like a 95% to make the playoffs. And with the identical record, the Pittsburgh Pirates were a 36%.
Damn. Eh?
What other factors do you think they're including?
And you look around the AL East and everybody's record, because coming into this weekend, and I don't know where it sits now.
The Yankees were in 5th.
Yeah. And would have been a half game out of first place in 4 different divisions.
Yeah.
And so this thing about that we all talked about, and we talked about it a little bit here, but the idea that getting out of having, a few less games in the AL East means, everybody got those, right? Everybody in the AL East gets to go out and pound on
play less
the
against
Central and whatever. And so that's happening. And the Jays got passed by Boston during that 4-game sweep. I don't know how Boston has done this weekend, but but this Blue Jays team is still very good, but man, one bad week and you're suddenly like, oh my God, we went from projected for 96 wins to 92 wins, and that's a little different,
and
right?
now you're out of the playoffs. You're out of the wild card. You're out of everything. Get out.
The whole division is going to make the playoffs. It looks like, so.
And I'm not sure.
Except Boston.
I'm not sure I'm prepared. I think the Jays came into Sunday tied with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
For third, I think it was. But I'm not sure I'm prepared for a world where I look up and see Tampa in first and Baltimore
Trash
in second.
birds in second.
And I know Mountcastle and they just
killer bullpen
they got things going down there, but I'm not prepared.
The new catcher there,
Rennick,
Radley,
Reffick,
Rudgman, whatever that kid's
swinging, missing. We got a former first overall pick.
Hey Siri,
Atlee, wait. I'm getting there. Atlee Rutschman.
Hey Siri, who's the catcher for the Baltimore Orioles?
These are the listed catchers for the Orioles. Catcher, James McCann. Catcher, Adley Rutschman. And catcher, Luis Torrens.
Luis Torrens was the guy.
Atlee Rutschman.
Yes.
So
Rudley Edgman.
Yeah, we were like rubbing it.
Yeah.
Rubbing it. Got 2 fingers there, licking them.
Flicking the bean.
Play the sound. Come on.
Bean town. How did I not have that ready to go? Oh. Rutschman. Oh no.
Flicking the bean.
Flicking the bean town.
Yep. Love it. But yeah, it is. You've now had Bassett, Barrios, and Kikuchi setting it straight as we knew it would be coming into this offseason.
Barrios' last start, though, was back to last year. Bad Barrios. And you're kind of like, what are we doing, man? He got knocked around in Boston, right?
Yeah. Well, to me, everything Boston seemed to hit in the air was going out.
Yeah, well, crazy dilapidated old fucking stadium.
But yet we hit a ball in the air and they're like, knocked down by the wind. It's crazy.
Kiki Hernandez out here.
Well, no, that's the only thing keeping us in the series was Kiki Hernandez chucking shit
but
around.
I don't want
sure.
Kiki beating me. Like anybody, I got a problem with that. I can't be beat by Kiki.
No, it was Yoshida and Wang or whatever those two guys I've never even heard of before, and you're like,
well, yeah, Rashida's the Japanese free agent who came in and apparently was worth every dime they spent on him, right? Daisuke, obviously. Yeah, but on the other side of the ball.
Yeah.
So I just wonder, man, like, it's funny how fickle, like, it's really hard for baseball fans, myself included, to keep things in perspective that this is every day for 6 months. And the rest of your sports, like even a hockey season, which is long, is half as many games, right?
Yeah.
If you're an NFL, if you're a CFL fan, it's cranked way down. And yet you seem to be able to keep that in perspective better. But 1 4-game losing streak, and you're just like, oh my God, because it's 4 losses, even though it is, as you've done the math there, right? It's a 2-game losing streak in hockey. But it doesn't feel like it. You've been losing all week. It's hard, man.
Yeah, and that is the thing. And Joe Siddle said it, right? He's like, yeah, this is the marathon that is a Major League Baseball season. Yeah. Right? You get swept in a 4-game series, and you're like, oof. But guess what? Hey, man, we're rolling
crush the Pirates.
We're rolling into Pittsburgh this weekend, and we have another crack. It's fresh.
Yeah.
And so.
And then you got 2 in Philly. Got the Braves coming in. Like it's going to be hard for a while now. Like you're back into another stretch of of really strong-looking teams. Like, you blew the 4-gamer against Boston, who you think is beneath you. You still believe Pittsburgh is beneath you despite their record. You've shown that this weekend. But now you're back into the thick stuff again. Like, you're going to have to find it. I think we got to be approaching done on the Brandon Belt experiment.
Wow, and that is, and again, to me, that was so interesting when you have that opportunity and you have a righty pitcher in, and Belt is coming up, and you're like,
Nah.
no, we're going to go with the righty to
go
face
to
the
Kirky
righty.
here.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was.
Yep.
We brought Kirk in, and you're like, that is, and it's got to be disheartening for the franchise, and it's got to be disheartening for Belt, right? Like, this is a guy who you were expecting to do big things. They had him pegged into the 4 or 5 slot.
He is roaring at rapid pace towards. Hey, remember that time Brandon Belt played for the Jays for 50 games before he retired? Like, that's what this feels like at this point, right? I didn't hate it then. I don't hate it now as an experiment. But you got to pull a shoot on that quick if it's not working, and it's not working. He's not been a good fit.
But you love the lefty bat, right?
Yeah,
you love that.
It was worth a shot, but it's not working out. Like,
I'm taking my money taking my chances with Kiermaier and Varsho and the odd Biggio. And you go, all right, there's my lefties.
You're going to have to go find, another bat by the time the playoffs roll around to come off that. And we've talked about it even on the other side, right? That it was a little surprising they didn't go find a right-handed bat as a backup platoon outfield for Varsho in late innings, or for Kiermaier if you needed somebody who could come into the outfield with a right-handed bat with just a little bit of pop, even if you don't have a ton of average. We all thought that was coming as spring training opened, and it just never did. And so I still think there's some questions to be answered here, but yeah, I think the Belt thing is.
How'd you feel about seeing Raimel Tapia?
Your buddy with the hair. Remember that was it.
I hated the hair, man.
I know.
I hated the hair.
But this is one of the moments that we captured on several months ago now that, the guy, your buddy with the hair. And neither one of us had his fucking name.
The baby giraffe.
Had the inside the Parker at Fenway. Okay, there, there. Yeah, no, I was not.
Well, and just
I was
now.
happy to see him in center field for them. No.
And just now I went, what's his name? Tilapia. Tilapia. No, it's not tilapia.
Raimel Shawarma.
Shawarma. Yeah. So to me, it is the very fickle nature of baseball where you go.
It's hard.
This is so long, and you go, man, Roman. He's in there, he's killing it, he's leading the AL in saves, and you go, but somehow he's also blowing holes and coming, just like. I don't feel. Do you feel like he's a cinch when you see him come in?
Honestly, yeah, for the most part, he doesn't worry me too much, unless they've overused him. Like if he's coming in 3 days in a row, that makes me uncomfortable.
But
for the most part, yeah, I do think, one of the top few. I'm honestly waiting for Pittsburgh to fall out of it, and I want to go get David Bednar. That's their closer.
How about Belt? Can we? Is there a trade there?
Yeah.
Everybody needs a left-handed bat.
Sure, could do it, man. We're out of notches on that belt, I think.
Okay.
But I want to get that guy.
He's just going the other way. I'm down to my last bet.
I just think, Bednar may be a top 3 closer in the game who never gets the opportunity because he plays in Pittsburgh.
To close in
exactly, while leading. So I if you could find a way to get that done, but as long as they're content, and they might, like, it looks like it might be them and Milwaukee. Like, the Cubs look okay. The Cards have never started this bad before in the NL Central.
Well, that's that season opening series. You're like, these guys are.
They beat us, but they don't look that good. Like, they look beatable,
and they haven't looked that great since.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where you start the season, you're like, okay, heavyweight, and then you're like,
maybe not.
Maybe
it wasn't heavyweight.
I'm not seeing it, right? And it's a preseason expectations.
Yeah, I think it'll be the Brewers and the Pirates down the stretch at this point, which is ridiculous to say.
In the NL East,
yeah, NL Central. Got Milwaukee in the NL East, do you?
I know. I for sure have.
You've come around to me now.
No, I for sure have the Brewers in the NL Central, but
and the Cubbies and the Cards.
Yep.
Trust me on this one.
Yep. Okay. No, I am absolutely gonna let you have that because it's not that important to me.
Okay. We'll wind this one down here.
It's a shame. I'm enjoying this.
Okay.
Our time together is special to me.
We can have
Matt.
more beers. We're just going to shut the mics off.
Okay,
We'll get into
perfect.
the good stuff.
Perfect.
The Leafs played last night.
Okay, but wait, yeah.
As you're hearing this.
Yes, and so
Okay.
we won't spend a pile of time because I know you and Maddie are going to hit the hot mics later.
/ last night.
Yeah, and so you will have all heard this already. I just want it on tape. Matt's feelings. Game 3.
Let me find a tape. It's not really how we do things in here. But
No, I'm just saying.
you want me on record?
I just want you on record to say optimistic. You're feeling buoyant. What's happening here?
I would say down 2-0. The Leafs are at about probably no worse than 35% chance to win the series.
Okay.
Which to me I think is high, right? As a down 0-2. I said to Maddie when we did the post-game show after Game 2, you're in trouble. It's not over. You're in trouble. You can't spot anybody 2 games at home.
Devils Rangers.
Yeah, I understand it just happened, but it doesn't happen all the time. And so in many ways, the fact that it just happened is a strike against you, right? In terms of
That only happens
the
so
odds
often.
or the averages, right? So I don't think it's outrageous or crazy at all to suggest that it's entirely possible the Leafs go down and take both in Florida. They just took 3 in Tampa.
I don't disagree. I
But I don't think it's the most likely scenario either, right? Like Florida's playing very well. Bobrovsky has suddenly remembered. I remember that time I went to Vezina.
I won a Vezina.
2.
Only twice.
Yeah.
4 years apart.
That's a bummer to me that he's remembered that at this point. But he took down Tampa in 2019, right?
He's like fucking Alex Lyons here. Fucking hold my beer.
So I think the Leafs, as I said on that show, are in trouble, but it's not over.
Yeah.
They're not dead and buried. They're not. Now, by the time you, good listener, hear this, if they've lost on Sunday, they might be dead and buried now. But
And sorry,
on Sunday afternoon.
what I was actually looking for from you, Matt,
Some more panic.
was just feelings heading into Game 3. Period. Tonight.
Nothing more than.
Are we going to see good Sammy tonight?
I'll never bet on
Good Sammy.
which Sammy we're getting.
Okay.
But
I, as a coach, very recently, certainly understand that sometimes you have no idea.
no, exactly. This guy at his best is awesome. I
That
sure
guy
hope
at
he
his
does it
worst-
tonight.
That guy at his worst sucks.
Yeah, so there is some of that. I think Matthews has largely been pretty good. Nylander's been really bad, except for the third period in Game 2. If they get the core up and running,
Same old
they'll
is
be
what
okay.
Matt's saying.
Yeah. If those guys are doing it, they'll be fine. Because it's not like Florida's taking it to us, right? Like for 2 straight games. They've been good and they've capitalized on their
It's that
opportunities.
Nick Cousins guy. If I could just control that Nick
awesome.
Cousins guy.
A Mick Ferris favorite, Zach Daltby out there doing his thing.
Honestly, there's a little Brantford, Paris,
Yeah,
Six Nations.
yeah.
This is right in Mickey's wheelhouse.
That's right. So shout out to you, Mick.
Yeah.
I know you're always listening. So, but that's about all I got, man. Like,
All right, that's all. I just wanted the pulse going into Game 3, and you'll all be able to have this on record, providing the guy who edits
what was it last week when I said the listener will be able to point and laugh?
Oh,
it wasn't the Jays.
Swayman.
It was Jeremy Swayman. Like, they won't do it. Like, oh, look, there he is.
Because you and I spent 15 minutes
Yeah,
on that. There's
yeah.
zero. Hey, why would you do that?
Yeah. Oh, look, there he is, and they lost.
Yeah.
So,
That's what we do here.
Yeah.
Hey, we're just talking.
yeah. Yeah.
2 guys having a couple beers,
Yeah.
shooting a little
Talking
shit.
stupid.
Yeah, all right. Thanks for listening.
Appreciate that. We'll wind things down here. Make sure you're subscribed to the pod wherever you're hearing us right now, and make sure you're following along on social media at Talk Can Audio. That's it for another Monday morning. Hope you all have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.
See ya.
Number one bullshit. Oh, number one bullshit.
Why are you so pissy?